Marvel's Hall H panel started off as normal as possible, and by the time they were wrapping things up, it felt like the panel was just Marvel tempering expectations across the board. But since Feige's the definition of a true showman, Marvel couldn't end Comic-Con without dropping their biggest bombshell since Infinity War. I was so shocked, I thought it was a prank. But the more the Russos and Feige spoke on stage, it became clear that this is in fact real. Hi, I'm your host Rob, and on this episode of Atomic Vision, I'm going to break down the massive reveal of Robert Downey Jr. returning to the MCU as Dr. Doom, and give you some new updates that you might not even know about. But before I do, let's get some of my quick thoughts out of the way.
Oh my god, you guys didn't dress up?
First off, holy this was unexpected. I knew they were going to talk about Cap 4, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four, but Marvel Studios really went there and confronted their biggest obstacle head on. Barring RDJ for now, the number one thing on people's minds is, why didn't they recast Kang? For a while, it sounded like Marvel was courting several actors to be Jonathan Majors' replacement, but as time went on, the impending casting announcement got quieter and quieter. At one point, it sounded like Coleman Domingo was a shoo-in for the new Kang, but with everything we know now, it's clear that Marvel is killing off Kang for good. So why is that? My best guess is that they looked at the reception of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and both seasons of Loki and came to the same conclusion most people had, and it's that audiences really don't care about Kang.
Do you know how many Avengers I've killed? And you think you can beat me? I am Kang!
A few minutes later.
I know there will be some fans who are furious that Marvel did not recast Kang, but honestly, this was a good call. Kang failed to live up to the hype, and despite giving a great performance in Quantumania, the other Kang variants were too cartoonish, and most importantly, unintimidating, especially compared to Thanos. The biggest nail in the coffin, besides the elephant in the room, was the Quantumania post-credit scene where Marvel made the unfortunate decision of cementing Kang as the big bad of the multiverse saga, even though he never came across as scary. The reason I think this isn't as big of a deal as Marvel fans would lead you to believe is that Kang was barely in the multiverse saga to begin with. The number one complaint I've seen is people claiming that Marvel has been building up Kang too much to quit now, when in reality, he was just in 2 projects. Not 4 or 5, but 2. Thanos appeared 3 times before Infinity War, and 4 if you include his spaceship in Ragnarok. So this isn't as big of a deal breaker as fans would have you believe. Marvel saw they had a golden opportunity to move past Kang, and I think they made the right call. Beyond that, Kang isn't even a big part of the Secret Wars storyline anyway. The pivot to Dr. Doom makes more sense since he is the big bad of this comic arc, so nothing has really changed here. In fact, this film got more comic book accurate by putting Doom back where he belongs. To me, Doom was always the main goal, and if Kang had stayed, Doom would have likely killed him at the end of Kang Dynasty anyway. Not to mention Loki Season 2 already handled all the other Kangs with one throwaway line of dialogue.
I got those reports on the variants of He Who Remains.
Do any of them know that we exist yet?
Oh, I guess one of them caused a little bit of a ruckus on 616 adjacent realm, but they handled it, so we're all good for now.
That's all we can ask for.
But let's move on to the crazy reveal of RDJ as Dr. Doom. Jeff Snyder was actually the first person to report that RDJ was returning to the MCU as Dr. Doom, but everybody scoffed at that idea, including myself, only for it to be true. So kudos to Jeff, credit where credit is due. While Marvel has given us little specifics, one thing needs to be made clear. RDJ will not be an Iron Man variant as Dr. Doom. I keep seeing people falling for this trap.
The internet does not lie.
But Marvel has repeatedly stated that RDJ is Victor Von Doom, not Stark transforming into Doom. Not a variant, but an actor playing a new role, and this wouldn't even be the first time Marvel has done this. But why? Why not hire a new actor to portray Doom? For a while, I struggled to figure out a good enough reason to justify RDJ coming back, beyond getting paid a ton of money. But now that the news is settling down, I think I figured out why Marvel is doing this.
Holy Mary, Mother of God. Was I crazy?
Of the 3 films showcased at Comic-Con, only one of them has a direct tie to Doctor Doom, and it's the Fantastic Four: First Steps. Everything we've learned about that film leads to one common theme, and it's that it takes place in an alternate universe, and not in the sacred timeline where the MCU takes place. The Fantastic Four exist on their own Earth with its own diverging history, and because we are at the tail end of the multiverse saga, doing stuff like this helps flesh out the multiverse, and gives us, the audience, a good reason to be invested in the multiverse's collapse. Secret Wars isn't about Earth 616 being in trouble, but every Earth in every universe. By keeping Deadpool, Wolverine, the Fantastic Four, and even the X-Men in different universes, it gives us an emotional reason to be invested in these characters that aren't from the MCU when their worlds begin to die off. And even though it has not been stated, I strongly believe that RDJ's Doctor Doom is coming from the Fantastic Four's universe. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards is going to be one of the most important MCU characters going forward. Reed Richards will be a key figure in Doomsday and Secret Wars. So it makes sense that his version of Doom is the definitive one to be the main villain of Secret Wars. By linking this Doom with the Fantastic Four, it will make it easier to establish Doom to the audience in the same way Gamora helped establish Thanos in Infinity War. As for why Doom looks like RDJ, again besides cash, I think Marvel might be playing 4D chess here. In the sacred timeline, Iron Man left a massive void in the MCU, and it's one that their world, and even our own, has had a hard time moving past. By bringing back RDJ as Doom, it not only brings back old fans who stopped watching these previous MCU films, but it offers a new perspective for all MCU characters to have. I know people are struggling to see RDJ as anyone other than Iron Man, but let's be real here. Audiences always say this, and eventually, they always say, "I'm sorry for doubting." When Heath Ledger was cast as Joker, there was pushback. When Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, pushback. Ben Affleck, pushback. Robert Pattinson, pushback. It's a tale as old as time. While RDJ embodied Tony Stark, at the end of the day, he's just an actor. And if you've only seen Downey perform in the Iron Man movies and nothing else, then you're doing yourself a disservice. I can bet $1 million that nobody watched Oppenheimer and said, "Wow, Downey's just playing Iron Man in this movie." And even past that, Downey just proved that he can be unrecognizable thanks to The Sympathizer from HBO. RDJ played 5 different characters with 5 different personalities and body types, none of which even resemble Iron Man. Series creator Park Chan-wook, who is a prolific film director, even said Downey is a chameleon. And if you've seen this guy's movies before, that's some high praise. But the biggest reason RDJ was chosen to play Doom is something that I believe will be the central theme of the movie. Throughout the multiverse saga, we have seen multiple examples of variants getting redemption or turning to the dark side. Whether it was the villains of No Way Home, Loki, Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, or even Wolverine, this has been the one constant theme in the multiverse saga. So it only makes sense in my eyes that the central antagonist that ends the multiverse saga represents the power of variants. I fully believe that RDJ is Victor Von Doom, and not a variant of Tony Stark, but the decision to rehire him was to create this deliberate unease. Now you know how the Avengers will feel as they are forced to fight their greatest enemy who resembles their greatest hero. While he won't have Stark's memories, Stark's snarky personality, or even Stark's empathy, it will be the uncanniness that terrifies the Avengers.
Is it better to be feared or respected? And I say, is it too much to ask for both?
Doom is a calculated killer, and by giving him RDJ's face, it will make the Avengers feel morally uneasy. I know Doom is famous for wearing his mask practically 24/7, but Marvel isn't paying Downey to just Mandalorian him. He will show his face because, duh. But the bigger question is, to who? My money's on Spider-Man. But when they inevitably show his face, I bet that RDJ won't even fully look like himself to begin with. Doom is widely known for being disheveled with a scarred up face, so I doubt RDJ is going to even look like Iron Man in a green suit. He probably won't have facial hair or hair at all, not to mention Doom is from Latveria, and while the character is known to have an American accent, this version of Doom is from the multiverse, so I'm going to guess that RDJ will perform his Doom with an ambiguously European accent. Although I personally don't know the story behind these upcoming movies, I do know one thing, and it's that Marvel did not choose the Russos to direct these 2 Avengers films. In a new article from Variety, it was revealed that Downey gave Marvel an ultimatum, and it was that the Russos had to be the directors or Downey wouldn't sign the contract. I know we think of Downey as this actor who wants a big payday, and that is true, but he's never played this game only to give a bad performance. And for every film that RDJ uses to get himself a bigger paycheck, the result has been a film where he acts his ass off. And coincidentally, the film's quality is pretty damn high too. For him to fight this hard to get the Russos back, it must mean there's an interesting idea here worth exploring. And the only people he trusts are them. If RDJ truly didn't give a and wanted an easy paycheck, why fight this hard for the Russos? Remember when I said that Jeff Snyder leaked this report months ago? Well, before this news broke out, multiple trades published pieces saying that Sean Levy was on Marvel's shortlist of directors, when in reality, the Russo decision was made months ago. As fans, sometimes we see these announcements at face value, as if Marvel hired Downey and the Russos the night before Comic-Con. But thanks to Snyder's sources, we now know this is not true. Marvel has planned over the last year and a half on how to fix these two Avengers films, and RDJ as Doom and the Russos wasn't a last-minute decision, but a definitive choice made a long time ago. Whatever idea Marvel has conjured up, it was good enough to get RDJ back, and that alone is pretty damn exciting. Not to mention Stephen McFeely, the screenwriter behind The Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame is returning to write Doomsday and Secret Wars. That's an even bigger W than people are realizing. But I want to close out this video with a recent update in that Variety article that I feel most people don't know. Since Marvel Studios was created, the #1 complaint has been its stronghold on directors' visions. Marvel doesn't let their creatives truly create, and instead, they create the film first, while the talent just helps along the way. This isn't always the case, the Guardians films being a perfect example of this, but Marvel is guilty of this on nearly all accounts. In that Variety article, it was announced that the Russos' production company, Agbo, which is the studio that produced Everything Everywhere All at Once, is going to be helping Marvel Studios with both Avengers films. Variety claims that this is a monumental moment in MCU history because Marvel has never had an outside production company collaborate on MCU films before. But that's not entirely true. While Doomsday and Secret Wars will be the first Avengers films co-produced by an outside studio not owned by Disney, this isn't the first time in MCU history. In fact, Marvel Studios' first collaborative project is currently the biggest movie event of the year. If you were too busy laughing during the film's opening credits, you might have missed that Maximum Effort and 21 Laps co-produced the film, marking the first time an outside studio has helped Marvel make a movie. And the result of this collab is going to be a billion-dollar film that audiences adore. Marvel hype is in a very vulnerable place right now, and I know that in the past few years, even with poor projects Marvel has made, the world itself has also gotten darker. And I just want to point out that even though movies can and will continue to fail, much like Charles Xavier from Days of Futures Past,
just because someone stumbles, loses their way, it doesn't mean they're lost forever.
But I want to know what you think. What are your thoughts about RDJ's return to the MCU? Are you excited to see the Russos return to direct? And how do you want Dr. Doom to look? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode of Atomic Vision, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.
Now that I'm leader of the world, I am going to make a change. I'm going to do what's best for the people. Okay? So, Spider-Man, why don't you give me some suggestions of things I can do to really make a difference?
Curb inflation,
No.
world peace,
No.
free healthcare for all.
Nope.
Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, I can do that.
Let's go!